Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Top 10 versus 10. We are the Three Amigos, and I'm Mike.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Steph.
And we are here to test our tastes against the greater...
The people.
The people, the masses. And we... You know what I miss, Nick?
What's that, Mike?
I miss nature, y'all.
I miss nature.
I mean, it's kind of one of the only places we can go right now is into nature. But it seems like a lot of work.
Seems like a lot of work put on pants and shoes
much.
and stuff.
Can't do it. But luckily, there are board games based on, around, and in, and about nature.
That is true. That is
Yes.
true. And this is we wanted to do a different theme of game. Like we kind of talked about doing top 10 versus 10s, but like focusing on a specific kind of theme.
Yeah.
Rather than like a mechanic or a publisher or something like that. And so we thought of this one, and it's kind of one of those things because there are this one is going to be all games about nature. And so we were like, oh, there's tons of games about nature. And it's a great theme. But on BGG, for it to fall into these categories, people have to tag them and submit a tag for approval, and then someone approves the tag. And the nature tag on BGG does not have enough games on it. It has really good games and definitely enough to make a top 10.
I think it has like 35 tags or something. Like 35 games,
Yeah.
that's it. So you really need to go, I think maybe it's probably a new category that got added recently. I mean, that's probably the only thing that makes sense because there's so few games with the category of nature when I could think of like so many off of my shelf right now that could fall into this category. So...
And nature is such a great theme. Like
Absolutely.
It's obviously very diverse because nature is very diverse. So you can really be anything in nature.
Yeah.
There wasn't as many as there should have been. So make sure to tag the games. If you're a publisher, make sure to tag your games and submit them because then it helps people find stuff. Because you're like, oh man, I want to find a game for nature. This is a great way to search out games that are specific, you know. And so make sure to tag those games and submit them for approval because it's important, you know. And it
And we do have enough to do a top 10, though. So we're going to test what we think of as great nature games against the highest rated nature games from everybody out there that uses BoardGameGeek. So I think we should start with BoardGameGeek's number 10 nature game.
So that's top 10 we did. I think the lowest ranked game was like 35 overall. That is not the case here because number 10 is Habitats, which is ranked 1380 overall.
Good place to start.
Still, just out of the top 1,000. Too bad. But yeah, this one's a little more kind of all over the place. Now, Steph, I know you love this game.
Oh, I totally love this game. It is a tile placement game, and you are basically drafting tiles by moving around your little animal on the map. And so each turn you're going to move in a direction that your animal is facing, or you can turn left or right if there's a tile there, and then you'll claim that tile. And if there's somebody else there, you jump over them and get the tile on the other side of them, that kind of thing. And so you're going to add it to your like little zoo that you're creating. And so you want to try and each type of animal likes to have different surrounding neighbors of their different animal types. And so you're going to try and expand your zoo to score points for the different animals that you've collected and the different, like, there's little, like, directional things that you can score for as well. So you're trying to get all these different patterns on your board to score these animals. And so if you've played something like a newer game called Nova Luna, it has that mechanic, the same kind of mechanic. It's just very more abstract. So this is with animals. It's really cute. And you're trying to go for like common goals each round. There's 3 rounds. And so, it's very nice. I love it.
Everything you said, you hit on a lot of things that very much make me excited for that kind of game. Like there's a lot
I do like Nova Luna a lot too. So that makes me even more excited for it.
See, for me, Habitats is way better than Nova Luna. Like,
that's totally
way
fair.
better.
I was going to say, I had a prediction that Nova Luna is going to overtake Patchwork.
Yeah. You think so?
Yeah. In terms of common popularity, but not in Steph's book.
Not in my book. I still would prefer to play Habitats. And I've been saying that since Nova Luna came out. I like Nova Luna. I've played it several times now, but I'm like, why aren't we just playing Habitats?
All right, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. That's good, and that's good enough for number 10.
Number 10
for BoardGameGeek, and it should be higher, and maybe will be higher for some folks. But let's go ahead and jump into our number 10.
Our number 10 is Petrichor, coming in at 1681 on BGG rank. Now, I've played like a demo of this, and I remember like different like water features, and so I could see the nature-y thing in my memory, but I haven't really played a full game, guys, so tell me about it.
Petrichor,
very nature game.
Very nature game because you're playing as nature.
You are nature.
You are nature.
You are nature.
Petrichor, you're literally moving clouds around and stuff.
Yeah.
By playing different types of weather, you can move clouds. You can add water to kind of fill clouds. You can make those clouds rain down on the ground, which will then sprout stuff. You can make thunder clouds, and so you're literally controlling nature, and you are moving around these little glass
little beads,
little bead type things, which are beautiful. So you end up with this like kind of multicolor, beautiful display with these little cloud trays. So yeah, that's one thing we really like about it is that you are you're not playing some god who's controlling nature. It's like, no, you're just a cloud.
You're just clouds.
Those clouds combined.
All of you are combined nature. You have your own color water drops.
Yeah.
And essentially it's kind of an area control game. You're essentially trying to get more of your water drops on specific
in the
plants
right
and crops out there. You know, if there's potatoes, you want more of that, and then you'll score. But at the same time, the layout of the board that's underneath all the clouds, because the clouds are kind of these little cardboard bowls that you put the water in, and then sometimes you pour it out because it rained. And the cool thing is the layout of the board is a bunch of these square tiles that, again, could be like rice, could be like potatoes, a whole bunch of different stuff. But that can change, and their layout can change. And not all of them score. None of them score the same way. So sometimes it might be like you want the majority. You want more of your raindrops on this than anyone else, and you'll score the most points. But some you want to be in second. Some you want like the least amount. Or there's all these different ways to score them. So it's this puzzle of trying to move the clouds around to where you want them to drop water out in specific spaces. Sometimes you can drop like one thing out. Sometimes you just pour the whole thing out.
Yeah,
and trying to figure out where to get your water to score the most points. But again, it's not always majority. Sometimes it's you want something else. And so it's this kind of weird puzzle that works really, really well and has such a weird, cool theme. Like and I think, Steph, you're the same way. I just like different themes. Even if it's a theme that I'm not particularly interested in, like I'm not a cloud ethologist. So like I know science. And so like I'm not a cloud ethologist. So like I don't have much interest in like weather or clouds, but I was like, this is a cool theme just because it's different. And you're going to see that a lot on this list where it's like, this is awesome because it's different. And so I really like Petrichor. I think it's incredible.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's striking. It's interesting with the card play and the powers that are all based on weather, like it's sunny or it's windy, and they all do different things that will manipulate the board, all kind of for this area control. And scoring, and it's again, like you said, it's just very different, and that's why it's our number 10 because it feels very naturey as well because you're dealing with weather and stuff. So hey, that's why it's on our list. It's a game we like. Sue us. We have no money. But with that, we'll get into Board Game Geek's number 9.
All right, Board Game Geek, your number 9 is a newer game. Came out, I think, officially this year, and is ranked 1170 overall, and that is Oceans. Oceans is the I guess sequel,
sort of spiritual successor to Evolution.
I guess it's kind of the third game in this because there is technically already a sequel, but nonetheless, this is Oceans. This is based off the game Evolution or Evolution Climate at this point. But takes place in the oceans. So you are, just like Evolution, you are gaining species of different fish, of different, really anything that lives in the ocean. You're putting different traits on them, and then you're trying to feed, and you're trying to eat. Although, if you've played Evolution, it actually plays very, very differently, because in Evolution, there's one central place where all the food is, unless you're a carnivore.
Yeah.
Whereas in Oceans, it's all like a big circular ecosystem where everything is, what matters is what species are adjacent to each species.
Whether or not they're your own, one of your opponents.
Over and you're constantly like feeding off of each other and everybody and trying to get food tokens. But then you also have to like keep onto those food tokens because you're constantly going to have your population getting hit over and over and over again. And it's a really interesting version of evolution that's actually pretty darn different.
Yeah, I
actually liked it a whole lot more than evolution.
Okay.
Because evolution, there's a whole lot of beatdown. This you get that, but you have more control over it, I suppose. Like, and you can more easily do it back to other people. I just feel like if you're stuck in evolution, you're stuck, and there's nothing you could do. With oceans, you have to kind of flow with it. Because you're like, all right, he's doing that, so I need to just make another species and figure it out and block him. Or, I don't know, I felt like I had more control for some reason. Maybe the cards that I was picking up gave me more control. I'm not sure, but it's also very beautiful, which both games are very beautiful. So I will give props to North Star Games because that art is amazing.
Yeah, the art is incredible.
100%. You're right, though, Steph. It is all about the flow. It's about like creating species that just are going to basically help feed your other species or block and protect your species. And so it feels much more like an ecosystem versus a couple species being picked on or picking on others. It's all... they all help each other out, and they all hurt each other at the same time. So that's number 9 from BoardGameGeek. It's Ocean's. Beautiful game, like you said, and a lot of cool stuff to explore. Especially if you like evolution, it is a cool and different and maybe better game to some people. So go check out Oceans. In the meantime, we'll get into our number 9.
Our number 9 comes in at 247, called Arboretum. Now, this was recently reproduced by Renegade. They made it beautiful. I have the original because I was all about it at the time, and then it kind of went out of print, so it was obscure, but now it's back, so everybody can play it, and it's a beautiful tree game. It's such a weird, like, card game, because you're, like, placing these trees down and creating patterns in front of you. But there's so much, like, cutthroat because you're, like, have to play cards to the tableau or somebody else could take your card, but you don't want to give up this card or this card. So you have to give up the card you don't really want to give up because they want it. And so there's, like, a mind game you're doing in this game as well. So
100%. Yeah. I mean, this game is bonkers just for how much it does with how little. All you do is you draw 2 cards. Play one to your tableau and discard one, right?
That's literally all you do in the whole game.
That's it. But your discard piles are face up. Everyone has one, and people can draw from your discard pile. So you don't want to inadvertently give somebody exactly what they need. And the way that you're building out these sequences of cards, there's so many different ways you can work it. But you also have to hold something back in your hand if you want to have a chance to score what you've been built.
That's the craziest part, is that if you want to score your huge orange field of trees, you're going to have to hold the highest orange cards in your hand at the end of the game so nobody else beats you to scoring orange. It's like crazy. So the scoring is a little weird. So your first game you'll be like, what?
Yeah, it is. I always say we did an in focus here on BG about it, and I kind of talked about that, where it's like literally the disparity between like mechanics and actions that you can do to like mind melting puzzle is bigger than any other game I've ever played. You literally do 2 things. You draw 2 cards, play one of your Arboretum, discard one. That's literally the entire game. That's all you do.
And it's literally all you can do to hang on.
And this game destroys your brain.
And that's why it's our number 9.
Because it's so good.
It'd be higher if I was any smarter. It'd be a higher game I can't handle. I can play it like twice a year and I'm wiped out. But it's really good. It's our number 9. And let's go ahead and get into BoardGameGeek's number 8.
Alrighty, BGG, your number 8 is ranked 682 overall, and that is Morels, which are a kind of mushroom.
It's a type of mushroom. It's also called fungi, from what I understand.
Like a fungi mushroom.
Has anyone played this? Steph, have you played this?
Fungi,
no.
Man. What?
It was like hard to get at one point, and then it kind of lost interest. I don't know. I just never had the chance to play it, I guess.
Yeah. So I was reading up on it a little bit because I was curious, mostly because I play Stardew Valley, and Morels are a type of mushroom you get Stardew Valley. But it's like a 2-player game, and you have like these kind of 2 decks of cards, and you're trying to ultimately like go and like forage for mushrooms and like cook them or sell them. And someone said like it kind of scratches a similar itch to like Lost Cities or Jaipur.
Okay.
So that made me pretty interested in this game. It looks kind of cool. I don't really know much about it, but you're kind of using a day and a night deck, and I think the night deck present different types of mushrooms, certain mushrooms that only appear at night.
That is true.
And day, and you're trying to like cook things to get better foraging skills because you're dealing with kind of a tableau of cards. So I think it helps you reach more stuff. And just like based on the little description I read, I'm pretty interested in this game. So if anyone out there knows about Morels or Morels, likes it, would recommend it, put in the comments why you like it so that I can maybe get interested and buy it. If it's available. Maybe it's still not available.
Yeah, I don't know too much about it.
Yeah, it looks cool. But either way, it's number 8 on Board Game Geek. It's clearly it's in the top 1,000 of games, y'all. We should probably know what this game is.
And there are other games.
But in the meantime, we'll get into our number 8.
Our number 8 comes in at 251. It's called Climate Evolution.
So, okay.
Talk about
I
evolution.
haven't played the climate version, guys, so I don't know what the correct...
that's the thing is, I do think you need to play climate
because... Oh, okay.
Yes.
We love base evolution. But
I did not love base evolution. However,
we liked it.
Maybe I should try the climate evolution.
Climate
makes,
like it. At least in our opinion, a massive difference.
Yes. So Evolution's a fairly simple game. And Evolution Climate doesn't add a lot of complexity, but what it does add is climate. And it adds the ability to affect the climate, which may impact how much food is available to eat. Either it might make more food or less food available. And it'll create some certain types of cards that you can deal with excess heat. You need things that allow you to keep cool. If it gets too cold, you can add on adaptations that keep you warm. And there's also climate events. If you hit a certain level of the climate as you're going hotter and hotter and hotter, it might trigger an event that means a deep freeze happens and it adjusts the climate. So it adds just this little element where you can kind of manipulate one other piece of the game. And the thing I like about it, and I think that you like about it, Nick, is that some games, the climate stuff really comes into play. Yeah. Other games, it kind of doesn't end up coming into play as much, but you never quite know. Because you're playing cards to the watering hole that may also make it warmer or cooler. Yeah. So it adds just a little bit more to the game, which might make it something that you would like better than just base evolution. For us, as soon as we played Climate, we said, we're never playing base evolution again. In fact, like when they sell evolution, it's just evolution Climate now.
Yeah, I think you might be able to still get the base, but yeah, for the most part, it's just Climate.
It's kind of like the...
To us, it's like, this completes this game. Like, it was fine on its own, but like this really completes it. And it's nice because like you can really affect the climate. Like you can be constantly pushing it for colder because you've set up all your animals to be like cold weather. Like they have heavy fur, they have a bunch of stuff to help them in the cold. So you're like, I'm going to keep pushing it cold. And it's interesting because like then body size matters. So if it's pushing towards the hot, your animals start dying off if they have really big body sizes because it's easier for small animals to stay cool. But then if it starts getting colder, if you have small sized animals, they start dying off and bigger sized animals are able to survive better. So it's this kind of extra layer on top of it that to us made the game just skyrocket up for us. We really like it a lot.
Yeah. So I would recommend trying it. Maybe you'll still like Oceans better. But it does get a little more to chew on.
For sure.
Which is why it's kind of made our list. And it feels, as always, very nature-y. Like, it's cool, like, playing these adaptations and trying to see if animals can evolve and keep up.
Yeah.
Is a cool theme in general that feels, like, scientifically satisfying.
Yeah.
And that's why it's our number, what are we on, 8?
Yeah.
I hope so. Either way, we'll get into the BGG's next number. I think 7.
Alright, so BGG's number 7 is ranked 584 overall, and that is Reef. Reef. Now, Steph, how do you feel about Reef? I played it once and was very like, on it.
I've played it a few times, and each time I'm like,
For one hot minute, people are like, it's the next Azul. It's an Azul killer. And then 2 minutes later, people said like, oh, no, I'm good.
Yeah,
it's not bad. It's certainly not bad, but it is not.
It was fine. It was fine. It's like
fine.
It's another pretty abstract game. It kind of came out around the time of like Azul, Dragon Castle, these kind of like really gorgeous abstract games, and then people were like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be the next Azul, and then. Which honestly might have hurt the game in the end because people were expecting it to be that popular or maybe that good. And I think it's fine, but yeah, we played it, I think at one of the Dice Tower conventions, and yeah, I was very just like, alright about it.
The thing I remember it being cool was the whole, I like when things can stack, and in this game you can stack pieces of coral reef, but then what matters is the bird's eye view and like what you can see on top, and you're trying to essentially kind of like fulfill contrast. You're trying to get certain amounts of things in certain places. So there is some cool stuff to chew on there.
It's fine.
But I think you're right. I think it suffered from comparison syndrome. It was just
I think for sure it did.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm sure like Reef they weren't trying to make an Azul. People were like, it's not Azul, and they're like, yeah,
cool, great. That's not what we were trying to do.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I also don't get a whole nature feeling from it either. It's more abstract. I mean, it's very abstract.
Sure.
So I don't really get the Reef connection. It's pasted on in my opinion.
Like, for sure.
It's nature and theme only, right?
Yeah, it's nature and theme only, which works for me. You know, it's like, that's my thing. It's like, if you are going to paste on a theme, which some games are just pasted on, that's totally fine.
Make the glue taste good.
But exactly, make the glue taste good. Like, if you're going to paste on a theme, publisher, come in here. If you're going to paste on a theme,
it's fine.
Make it an interesting theme. Yeah. Because if it's just pasted on, it could be presumably anything. Don't make Carpe Diem. Make it something else. Like, make it anything else. Like,
else.
If you're going to paste on a theme, at least make it something pretty and interesting, because it'll help you. It'll help your sales. I want to let you know right now.
I mean, Carpe Diem is a great game and is a great designer, and it's still going to sell no matter what because of that. And the mechanics are good, but it would help if it had pretty art.
Or any
wouldn't hurt it.
Any theme.
Anything.
Right. There's fish in there.
There's fish.
There's fish. It's kind of nature, right?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Carpe Diem, my number one. Nature game. Specifically nature.
Gardening. And there's fish, and there's
there's bread, and then there's a bunch of buildings that look exactly the same. And then Reef is fine. It just didn't land for any of us, but ultimately it is a very pretty abstract game. And give it a shot because it was fine.
It's fine. It's worth trying anyway.
Yeah.
It's number 7 on BoardGameGeek, so it's not horrible, and it's a highly ranked game overall. It's nearly in the top 500 of all games ever made. Pretty good. You could do worse for yourself.
That's okay.
You could play Munchkin, and that would be a bad time. Anyway, we will we'll jump into our number 7.
Our number 7 comes in at 1380. Sounds very familiar, and it's called Habitats.
Hey, remember that game that
Steph
wishes it could be?
Yeah.
We talked about it. There's not much more to say, but tile placement, amazingness, and drafting. It plays up to 5, which is usually the count I play at, because when we're like, we have 5, what do we play? Oh, how about Habitats?
Okay, that works.
Cool. Yeah. Any game that you can play at 5-player and still kind of keep it moving and viable is real good.
5-player is tough because so often your game group has 5 people, but there's not that many games that play good at 5.
5 is the worst group number ever.
And
5, I agree. I hate when we have 5.
Yes, it could be 6. Then we're going to play 2 3-player games. Cool.
I'm a big, and this has nothing to do with Habitats necessarily, but I am a big pusher of, cool, let's just break into 2 groups. A group of 3 and a group of 2.
Yeah.
I have no problem, but so often people always like, no, let's all play a game together.
So many people don't want to play 2-player games, and everybody wants to play together.
Yeah. So then you gotta play
the same problems. Yeah.
It's just break up the group. Just break up the group.
5
it's not a big deal.
Curse to board game groups.
Just play it. It's fine.
Habitat's great at 5. Always play it. Play that and Draftosaurus. You got a whole night right there.
That's true.
Those are great at 5. But Habitats is our number 7, 6, 5, 7.
Number 7.
Ooh,
7.
I lost my way there. Let's go ahead and jump into BoardGameGeek's number 6.
We got our double crossover, Classic 3 Amigos double crossover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed. And this is number 6, which is ranked 387 overall for all of us, and that is Photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis.
Oh, I love this one.
This is a game, it's so good. This is a game that, like, I feel like did incredibly well because it's a very good game. But then on top of that, it was just, people were like, trees? Like, it's an area control game with trees, and it's really cutthroat, and then you see it, and it's this beautiful 3D game.
It's got some of the best table presence of any game ever made, and because you literally have trees standing there.
Good.
Yeah.
God, it's good.
It's so cool because you literally, there's another one like Petrichor where you are playing as nature.
Yeah.
Like your money is light.
Yeah.
And you spend light to grow trees from seeds, and trees become small trees. They become bigger trees and bigger trees. And then eventually those trees die and they become points because games ultimately need points to play. But yeah, it's just incredibly scientifically satisfying. Like, I feel the nature so hard in this one. Steph, why do you like photosynthesis?
Yeah, I mean, so you have to plan for, like, shadows and, like, what other game do you have to plan for shadows? I can't really think of anything, but, like, as your tree grows, you're going to create shadows depending on where the sun is, and so that will block other people's chances of scoring, and all these different things you're calculating, and the sun moves every turn, and so you just have to visually think about everything. So one, if you don't like abstracts, this probably isn't for you, because it's very abstract, and you have to mentally plan and think and how you're going to grow your trees and all these different things. So you definitely have to be planning and focused on where the sun will be in 3 turns and how that will affect you.
Yeah.
So it's really good. If I really like it, I like abstract, so that really works.
Yeah, it's great. And this is a game where it's like, but this is an abstract game where the theme, I feel like, isn't just pasted on, like, because of the way the sun moves and the shadows. You're like, man, it's just such a cool game. That again.
Yeah, this is way different than, like, Reef,
for sure.
For example.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Yeah, like this. Yes.
Yeah, and this is one of those games that, like, again, I feel like took off because it got noticed because it was different. And then on top of that, it was really good. And so then it was very successful. But it goes to show that, like, in my opinion, make different themes because it gets your game noticed. Because if nothing else, people go like,
what is that?
Trees, huh? You know, and it piques their interest at least a little bit. And then but photosynthesis is so good. It's brutal. It's really cutthroat. It's
like nature. It's hard to be a tree in nature. You gotta stretch.
It's legitimately hard.
It's legitimately.
You don't care
accurate.
about that bush over there.
Also, not for nothing, it has the best player board.
Yes,
of any game of all
the
time.
Whole game
of all time.
It's cool.
It just keeps everything nice and neat.
Perfectly laid out.
Tells you what costs what.
Yeah.
It's very good.
It's like everything is like, how much does this cost?
And
this much.
It's also all language independent.
Because all blue-orange games are always language
Plus,
independent.
blue-orange game saves trees with their games, and this one's about trees. Very meta,
Good job,
blue-orange. Very meta. So that is everybody.
But you get points by cutting your tree down, so you have to, you know.
It's called the economy, Steph, okay?
I choose to look at that. I choose to look at that the tree falls down naturally. It invigorates the soil.
Does it make a sound?
Mine definitely.
Yes, because the other trees can hear it.
Mine go down screaming for sure. But either way, that is everybody's number 6. Photosynthesis, fantastic game where you feel that nature hard in it, and it is brutal.
Let's go ahead and get back into BGG's number 5. This is double crossover territory.
Double crossover.
Double crossover.
Crossover. The world can't handle this much crossover. It's
awesome.
But this is ranked 301 overall, and this is Parks.
Everybody loves Parks.
Everybody loves Parks. Parks is, oh man, this is one of those games where everyone saw the art and went, what's this game?
Oh,
and Steph, I know.
so
Steph,
good.
you're
I think you were wearing a Parks shirt in our last top 10 even.
I was,
So tell us about Parks.
I'm a fan. Well, it's a really cool, like, kind of set collection. You're collecting these tokens, and you want to, like, go visit these parks, and you're just trying to get all these points. But what's really cool about this game is the different timeline, the different actions you're selecting. Every round you're going to add a new action. But when you go to a space, there might be a token there at first, but then nobody else can go to that space. But you can't go backwards in time. So if you go all the way to the end, well, you've skipped all of your possible actions with that one hiker. Yep. So you just have to manage where you're going with your hikers. But as soon as someone goes in front of you or on a space, you can't go in that space until they move. But you're managing 2 hikers, so you might be able to hit the same spot twice to get different resources you need. But at the end, you get the chance to maybe visit a park or collect a park so nobody else takes that park. Ultimately, you're just trying to get the most points from visiting parks and, doing other things. So it's very easy to understand. Collect resources, visit parks.
I love it.
That's basically it.
Yeah.
But there's other little things you could do, like be a photographer. So I particularly like that part of it, and I'm very cutthroat on that. And so I'm irrational, basically, when it comes to this mechanic, because I want to be the photographer. And so if somebody takes it from me, I immediately take it back. because I'm stupid. I want to be
playing the game your way. Like, you do that.
I play it my way, and I want to hold the camera token, so that's it.
Yeah, that's how you play parks. Like me, when I go to Yosemite, I just go to the visitor center and say, where are the victory points, please?
Where I would like.
I have some bits of wood. Can I get some victory points?
But I do love that mechanic. The mechanic where you're going down a track, and you can go down as far as you want, but you can't go back. And I always love that mechanic. I think that's such an interesting mechanic that isn't used very often in games. Yeah. And I think it's such an interesting one where it's that kind of, I want to, but then I can't,
the whole thing of people maybe blocking you, and you're like, well, get out of my way, because ideally you would just go down every single space, but that's not going to happen.
That kind of mental battle that you have of wanting to go farther, but then not being able to go back is a really satisfying one, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's a game that just like looks really cool.
Parks looks good.
Yeah, and it's amplified by how gorgeous it is.
Yeah. Yeah, the bits and stuff.
And so, if you've been to these national parks, you're like, oh, I've been there. I want that one. So you have that kind of connection already. Yeah. And, it's really great.
Yeah, we grew up going to national parks and stuff. So, like, when we saw that coming out, parks, we were like, wow, this is amazing. And the art style,
it's so cool.
It's one of the more striking games, certainly of
the good thing about times. Games about nature, a lot of them are pretty. Because nature is pretty. Yeah. I will say, in terms of sheer art, this list is a banger.
Yeah.
Like, this list has got some good art in it. And it's because it's a game about nature. But, so it's like...
You can pull some sweet inspiration just from life. Yeah, that's pretty good. So that is everybody's number 5, folks, is parks.
Number 5.
So let's go ahead and jump into Board Game Geek's number 4.
So, BG, you're number 4. We are back at 251, and this is Evolution Climate specifically. We already talked about it. Evolution Climate, in my opinion, is the only way to play it. It's just great. It takes that game, elevates it to a whole nother level, and makes it really, really great. I am curious to see how Oceans will... Because Oceans is really new, so I'm sure it's climbing. I'm curious to see how to level out. My guess is Evolution will still stay on top.
Evolution is super solid and established. Oceans is really interesting because you have kind of two sides to Oceans. You have the shallows and you have like the deeps.
Yeah.
And the shallows, you can play just with these. There's only like 12 different types of cards. It's kind of basic in a way, but then you can add in this stack of
it's like 80 cards,
wild cards that have.
It's like crazy
power. Like,
that stack of cards.
So many of them are just like way broken. They do this insane thing, but you have to pay in victory points to get these cards.
Yeah.
So there is that to consider, but there's a lot to kind of enjoy when you do that. But if you only stick to the light side of Oceans, it's kind of basic. So I'm curious if it will overtake Evolution Climate. Evolution Climate has a head start. It's just been around for so much longer.
That's the thing, right?
Or Evolution in general. So
yeah. But Evolution Climate is great. If you like Evolution, definitely play Evolution Climate because it adds a little bit more, but it's not so much more to like grok, and it's not like it adds a ton of rules, but it adds a little bit more. But the gameplay to us is way deeper, way more fun. It's just fun to manipulate the climate. It can be a little chaotic depending on when the climate events happen, because sometimes they happen way at the end when it gets really, really hot, but sometimes they happen like pretty kind of in the middle.
A little bit warm.
And it can just change stuff on an instant. And the climate events only happen for like one round, but there can be like a wildfire, a meteor can hit, like all sorts of weird stuff can happen. And it makes it really, really fun. So Evolution Climate, your number 4, really good choice, great game. Give it a shot if you haven't already. Let's go ahead and get into our number 4.
Our number 4 at 2,401 is Bosk. Now this is one that we threw in there because we felt it needs a nature tag.
It does. This is not on the nature list.
Yeah, it's also abstract, a great game, but it's
also a great game. But it should definitely have a nature tag.
That's the thing, like Bosk.
The only thing it's missing is a nature tag.
It's literally you're also just trees.
You're just treeing it up. Yeah, in this one you are kind of like photosynthesis. You're dealing with these 3D trees.
Yeah,
but you play two kind of placement rounds.
You're playing 2 games essentially. Kind of.
Yes. So you're playing, in the first round, you're putting out trees. And you have to put them on, basically, there's a bunch of lines that create little intersections. You have to put it on the intersection of 2 lines. which makes a grid essentially. And then at the end of the first round, you go into the summer, you're playing through a year essentially. So round 2, you're scoring. Basically, you look at every row and every column, and you're seeing who has the most value of trees, because your trees have values 1 through 4. Yep. So if I have a level 2 and a level 3 tree in this column, I have 5 worth of tree. Yeah. Nick might only have 3. So you're trying to do that, but you're kind of thinking in 2 different directions, because this one that's helping out with this column is also going to be part of this row. So you want to hopefully have the majority. If you can, you want to be the only person with trees in that row or column, and you're trying to spread out, because in the third round, after you've done that scoring round, you are going to drop leaf litter from your trees onto the ground, and then the game becomes an area control game.
Yeah.
So an area control versus of different zones instead of just the grids and stuff. So you play these kind of 2 completely different games, and the leaf litter is all dictated by the wind. So in round 1, you need to be placing trees in places so that eventually you can put leaves out from your trees to control zones. You're going from grids to zones, and it's just...
Say goodbye to your brain.
Yes, it is... beautiful.
What
first
is
of
it
all
with tree games and destroying your brain?
You're right. Arboretum, photosynthesis, now Bosk.
There's something about trees where someone's like, I'm making a game about trees and I'm gonna mess your head up.
Do you know what else messes my head up? Trees are just like, oh yeah, that tree's 1,000 years old. I was like, what did you just say to me?
Yeah.
Okay, trees are nuts.
Yeah, it's wild. But Steph, you like Bosk, right?
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've only played it a couple times, but it's beautiful. Any game that's beautiful, I'm like, oh yeah, it's awesome. But
here's the thing.
I like how it's simple. It's like you have 2 phases. You have the play the tree phase, and then get the control phase, and then it's over. And you're like, wow, that was fast. Let's play again.
Yes, it's totally very quick.
It's really fast.
It will hurt you fast.
Yes,
but it is very fast. You just place some trees, score them, get some leaves, score those, and out. But you can be, from that first tree you put down, you can be setting up, you can get deep with the game. At the start, you're sort of putting trees places, and then you start to realize, like, oh, I can be very tactical.
Yes.
And think in kind of 3 different directions at once, and think in 3 different rounds. It's intense.
It's got that Quanchai Moria art. Quanchai Moria is the best artist in board games. Fight me.
Great.
Oh,
it's like one of the best covers. I love the Bosk cover.
Gorgeous.
So
yeah, so it's like gorgeous game. Really thinky, ultimately pretty simple. It's Bosk is great. Bosk is great. Check it out. Great. Tag it as nature, because it should be on this list.
Yes, it should.
Tag it as nature.
Yes, it should. That's why it's our number 4. So let's go ahead and jump into Board Game Geek's number 3. All
right, Board Game Geek, your number 3 is a game that's come up already and is ranked 247 overall, and that is Arboretum.
Arboretum.
Again, trees.
Yay, more trees.
Trees that destroy your brain. Yeah, Arboretum is just...
Welcome to Top 10 Trees That Will Hurt You.
Fantastic card game. Just play it.
Just play it. It's great. It's small. It's cheap. I mean, it's just a deck of cards. It's
less than $20 or maybe $20. Like it's a good price game. Beautiful. It plays good at different player counts because you just scale up or down the amount of different types of trees you have, so it plays out the same. It's just enjoy yourself. And in the first game you play, just try to get here's the thing, just score like trees. One species really well. Just don't worry about the rest. That's good enough for the first game.
Yeah.
Because it'll hurt you if you try to go too hard, too fast. That's Arboretum, as we talked about before. Let's go ahead and jump into our number 3.
Our number 3 comes in at 1156, called Ecos First Continent.
Ecos First Continent. Ecos. Bingo, the nature game.
There's a lot of really cool things going on in this game, guys.
Yeah, Ecos is got a lot going on.
Ecos is a weirdly divisive game we've found.
Yeah.
But it's a game where it's sort of like bingo. You're pulling out these kind of element tokens from a bag that have a whole number of different symbols on it. And you'll have a display of cards in front of you, hopefully, that may have the symbol that got pulled. And if they pull that symbol and you wish to put one of your energy cubes on your card, cool. So it's kind of like bingo in that way. You're hoping for B11. And you pull out these things, and if you fill out all the symbols on your card, you can then activate that card, which may add on to the continent. You can add more land tiles or water tiles. You can put trees and mountains and many different types of animals down, all to kind of score there's a whole bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
So sometimes you want a whole bunch of one land type together. You want a large group of animals. You want to have trees with no animals around.
Diversity in scoring is really, I mean, it's all over the place.
It's all about what cards you have in front of you, and you can build some really cool combos with those cards. So Steph, why do you like Ecos?
Well, so I like the combos that you mentioned right there. I love pulling the little stones out of the bag. Like, because I just, like, pull, and then I'm, like, busted or whatever. And so the next player gets to pull. I'm like, come on! And then like, because there's, like, one tile, like, if you get it, it's like a wild, I think, and then you pull that out, and then, you know, your turn will be over after that, pulling these things. I mean, you'll still get to do things on other people's turns, but it's more fun to pull things out of them.
Totally
but,
is.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about these cards is that they're so many use cards. Yeah. So once you use it, you turn it, and if you have no more turns on the card, then it's gone. Like that's it. You've used it. Oh my god. So you want to make sure you have your combo set up. So if I get my extra green for turning that card, then I can use my green on this one, then I can turn that one and then do that, blah blah blah. And you're doing all this stuff, and there's a lot to think about. So I can see why it could run long for some people, but playing with two players, it was moving and it was fun, and so this is definitely one I want to explore more. I haven't had a chance to play it again, but it's definitely on my to-play.
Yeah, it's great. I would say it goes 2 to 6. It's a 2 to 4
I
player
wouldn't
game.
play 6. I would just...
We've played 6. No,
3 and
it's
4
a 2 to 4
is
player
really
game.
sweet because you have more opportunities for the continent to be changing because you're building out this continent.
It's
adding
collective.
features
That's true.
you
That's
go.
true.
Yeah. So it's really, really cool. Just the stuff you can do. And the whole bingo thing, there's a lot of room to be mad at the person that's pulling things. You're like, just pull grass. I need grass. You keep pulling sun. I don't want that. And it's like, obviously, they're not doing it on purpose, but you can be like, how dare you? And then Nick and I have this fun thing where if we're playing, I pull tiles for like about half the game. Yeah. And then I finally pull a wild and it goes to Nick and he pulls out one thing and immediately a wild and it goes back to me. Yeah. And it doesn't affect anything, but it feels so personal.
It feels personal.
Like, yeah. I like pulling the things out of the bag. Well, you also get turn order.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're pulling for the bag and you do something with that sun and somebody else is doing something with that sun, you get to do it first.
It's true. That's true.
So, you do get some benefit for holding the bag. So.
That's very true. I forgot about the turn
order.
Yeah,
it's cool. There are a ton of different cards. Every single one is unique.
Yeah.
And just the sheer amount of animals and how they all interact together and how you're trying to change the continent to make it look the way you want it to look to make your cards score. It's just, it's a game that's ultimately relatively simple. You're pouring out these things, you put those bingo things on the cards, and then you activate them, and the cards are pretty clear in like what they do. Put down a mountain, put down a hippo, put down a water piece. You're like, all right, cool. But then it's like just the sheer amount of combos and stuff. It just gets so deep, and it's a really, really, really good game. Yeah. I love
And it should have the nature tag.
And it should. It doesn't.
It's new, but yeah, someone get that nature tag on there because it feels very naturey.
It's great.
Yeah, and the way nature interacts with each other, and like there's like sharks, and sometimes I played one game, someone had lined up hippos in a straight line, which is not good.
Because they were trying to go for a thing where it's like, however many hippos you have in a straight line.
So I put a shark down and just went through and mowed down every hippo they had.
He Pac-Manned the whole thing.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was like, that's how nature is.
The other person was like, oh, I've been setting that up for like half the game.
I felt so bad. I was like, I feel horrible about this, but I'm going to ruin everything.
But I'm going to do it anyway.
That's nature, though.
It's nature. Although I like a hippo's odds against a shark in real life. But yeah, that is Ecos. That's our number 3. Fantastic, cool game that uses kind of a bingo mechanic. Check it out, and you can build some sweet combos. Super sweet. In the meantime, we'll get into Board Game Geeks number 2.
BoardGameGeek's number 2 is ranked 229 overall, and this is a classic abstract game called Hive.
Yeah, putting little hexagonal tiles.
Hexagonal tile. Now, I've only played Hive once, and it was a while ago, and I got destroyed.
A long time ago.
This is a game that gets compared to things like chess a lot, because it's straight up abstract. Sure, there's like bugs on them, but like they could be literally anything. But you're essentially moving around the hexagonal tiles, these big, super chunky tiles, and trying to score in a bunch of different ways, and it is really deep.
You're ultimately trying to surround your opponent's like queen bee, correct?
Yeah, you're trying to surround their...
Yeah. So the cool thing is with that, it's like with the different bugs, like you said, it could be anything. They choose insects and stuff, and whatever insect is on that tile, it affects how that tile moves.
Yes.
And that's cool when you have a game like that where it's like, well, this one's cool and it might jump or do this thing in a straight line.
This one can swing arown the side. This one can kind of crawl over.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff to kind of explore with like, okay, how am I going to manipulate these pieces to do it? It seems incredibly hard.
It's very difficult. It is. It's like one of those chess type games where it's very, very deep. You're thinking like 5-6 moves in advance. Just all these different, how things could move, what the possibilities, and that's not a game I'm particularly good at.
Yeah.
So, like, it was fine. It's a kind of game that I would never play very often because of the fact that, like, those kinds of abstract strategy games are just not my jam. Like, I don't like chess. I don't like those kinds of games. This was more interesting to me than chess, but nonetheless, I was just like, okay, cool. I'm glad I've tried Hive. I don't really need to play it again, but people really love Hive.
So, Steph, I know you only played it once a while ago.
It didn't grab me.
Okay.
I mean, it's fine.
Sure.
It's like, what Nick said. It's,
I know you like
glad
abstract.
to have tried it, basically. I do like abstract, and I like that it's portable and that you can bring it around
small.
And just play it, but it's
bludgeon
not really. I'd rather play a roll and write, I guess.
Okay, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. They should make Hive the roll and write.
Yeah, see, that would
the
be more
Hive
interesting.
Game. There you go. Yeah,
let's
the
make
Hive
that.
roll and write game. Yes.
I'm into it. Let's make it. But a lot of people clearly do like it because it's number 2 overall for Board Game Geek. All you users out there, Board Game Geek. But we have a number 2, so let's jump into it right now.
Our number 2 is 3161 overall, called Biosphere. Now, again, this doesn't have the nature tag. I kind of added it in there.
That's fine. If you can make the argument that it's got nature in it, that's fine by me.
Yeah, you're basically, this is a crazy game with like 1 billion dice. You're not rolling these dice. They're kind of like triggers, like, so if they come in at a pip value 4, then they last for so many rounds before they're eventually extinct from the board.
Yeah,
so
okay.
You're trying to manipulate the board, have area control on different regions so you can complete different goals that are out there, and whoever can complete, I think it's 4 goals first, will win the game. So you're simply just trying to complete these goals that are out there. It's been way too long since I played, unfortunately. It might be 3 goals, 4 goals, I don't know, but it's amazing because you're controlling your board. So, like, let's say I get some knowledge about the grasslands and I can advance my species in the grassland territory. So next time I put out grassland, they can be 1 pip higher, basically. So they live for an extra round.
Okay.
If you will. And so you're trying to manipulate your stats and get these different upgrades while trying to control the board so they don't go extinct.
I like it.
Right.
So there's a breeding phase where you're add more dice to the board and more species where they come in, at a better value pip, so you can maintain that as soon as the 4s die off, your 1s will still be there, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And so it's really, really cool, and I know it's impossible to get this game, but it's so much fun. So I recommend, if you can try it, that you do try it.
If you do see it out there,
give it a shot.
Be sure to play it.
If you do see it in the wild, play it.
If you don't play it, if you see it in the wild and don't play it, don't ever speak to us again.
That's on you.
Yeah.
On you.
That's what we said. Who said it?
That's on you. You let those dice go extinct. How dare you? But that is Biosphere, folks. That's our number 2. Let's go ahead and jump into Board Game Geek's number 1.
So Hive was 229 overall. This one is 21 overall.
Big jump.
I bet you'll never guess what it is.
There
it's a
are
huge surprise.
so many games about birds. I wonder which one this could be.
It's probably the Big Bird game.
It's Wingspan, but Wingspan is
Big
about
Bird.
it's about Sesame Street.
Sesame Street.
Exactly.
Teach you the alphabet. It's cool. It's a good game.
This is Wingspan. It's ranked 21 overall. It's number 1. You probably could figure out it's number 1. But this is a game, again, talk about different themes that pique people's interest. This is a game about bird watching, and it is about birds. It's about nature. It's also got gorgeous art, which it doesn't hurt. Best sellable showing up yet again.
Yep.
But the cool thing is, it's also scientific. Like, if on each bird card, it gives you its genus name, it tells you where in the world it lives, and then it also gives you an interesting fact about the bird, which is super cool. And there's something like 150 unique birds in the game. And we've talked about Wingspan a ton, so we're not going to get into it over and over and over again.
It's a simple little tableau builder,
little
engine builder
tableau, yeah.
Where you're either getting food, laying some eggs, drawing some cards, or playing some birds. And then you build these combos. Yeah, where you we did play last weekend, where you get some food and you get to activate a bunch of birds along the way. And there's some cool stuff that is scientifically satisfying. At first I was thinking like talk about pasted on theme, but I'm like, nah, they do integrate it, because you have like some sort of predator birds that will eat a bird that is of a smaller wingspan than them. And that's, I guess, true. Like, generally, animals, if they're going to attack something, they're going to attack something smaller than they are. So there's some really cool stuff like that.
And there's, like, all the birds have different nests and can lay different amount of eggs, and the eggs are actually relative to how many eggs that bird actually lays in real life. So it's like, it's just, there's a lot of cool little thematic parts of it like that kind of becomes a means to an end of building your engine and making points. But it's a really cool game. Most people have played it. It's ranked 21 overall. It's done well for itself. Keeps climbing. I think it's going to be in the top 20. I think it might be the top 15 eventually. It's just people love it. Yeah. It's great.
It's a good game. That's Wingspan. Your number one. The people's number one.
Number one.
Quite a jump from number two. So let's go ahead and jump into our number one.
Our number one comes in at 14-12 overall, and we chose Planet.
What is more about nature than the planet?
Making a planet.
I suppose that's a valid point.
This
and
game
it's a pretty cool game.
Weird. It's so weird, and I love it so much.
It's a 3D puzzle game. In a way, you have literally a ball,
a giant D12,
giant D12 that has magnets. And you, throughout the game, you're doing 12 rounds where you're putting a little triangular section of the planet onto this 3D ball. And all it has is different land types. You have like ocean or ice or mountain and stuff like that. And based off of how many within each triangle, how many mini sections of a type of land you have that are built that are contiguous, you will be able to claim these animal cards. Because animals would want to live in that land type. So sometimes it's like, hey, if you have the biggest area of swamp or whatever, or dirt, I don't know, brown, you get to claim this animal. Or it might be whoever has the most different areas of ice. So you don't want one big one. You want like a bunch of different ones that are all separated from each other. So you're just building
or something that's not adjacent to water.
Yes.
Or all these different conditions that you want to try and plan for, because you see them all. And so you kind of know how to manipulate your globe as you're going. So, thinking 4 turns ahead for the next desert scoring one or something like that.
100%. Yeah. How do you build? And usually those cards, a lot of the goals will conflict with other ones. Yeah. Like you said, you might want something, but you cannot have ocean around this thing. But other ones, you might really want ocean, or ocean might be your special habitat, so you want to have a lot of ocean on your planet in general. So how do you make all those things work, and what areas do you say, like, I'm not going to worry about this card, that card, that card, because it's going to set me up to get those other ones.
Yeah.
And it's, for kind of a simple game in terms of what you're doing, the puzzle and literally having to work in Z-space.
The puzzle, you're having to work around it like this makes it so hard. To visualize, because it's not flat how we're used to looking at board games. So you're constantly like, how many deserts do I have on this thing? And you're trying to count them, and it makes it so fun and legitimately difficult. Yeah. Despite the fact that the game is pretty darn simple ultimately.
Yeah. Just doing those things like Steph said. You see all the cards that are going to be claimed this game. So there's all open information in that, and it's just about trying to capitalize on that, and also with the different tiles to put on your planet that you're given on any round. You got to work with what you got. So it's super cool, and it's our number one because you're playing the whole
Steph,
Earth.
You love it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Steph's probably much better at it than we are.
I feel like you're better at most games than us.
Obviously, that's true. Yes,
indeed.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. It's accurate.
She can't even be there. She can't be humble. She's just like, the bar's not high with y'all. So yes, I'm better at games than you. But we have fun, don't we, Nick?
We have fun.
We have fun. We had fun on this list, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us with it. Please put your favorite games that you think
nature
are naturey. Yeah, that have trees or something, or it's like, well, there's a rock painted on one of the cards. That's nature.
Boom, nature.
And then that's why Gloomhaven's here, or whatever it might be. Put your favorite nature games or games that make you think of nature in the comments below. Also, let us know a topic you want to see us tackle in a top 10 in the future. Indeed. Anything. It can be game mechanic, game designers, publishers, different themes. Whatever it is, put it in the comments below, and we'll try to give it a go.
We'll try and get them done. And make sure to tag your games.
Tag those games.
Obviously, this list could have been bigger.
Could have been bigger. And it will be in time, because BGG is an ever-growing, beautiful resource.
Yeah, so it's super cool. Thank you so much for being here. I think we're going to head out. This has been the 3MBGOs. I am Nick.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Steph.
That's right, Steph. The best.
The best.
Legend. Legend.
Legendary.
Legend.
Legend. And we are out of here, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.